Bridges, marvels of human engineering. They connect communities, enable commerce, and stand as symbols of progress. But what happens when a bridge, designed to withstand the forces of nature, becomes its own worst enemy? This is the story of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, or as it was famously nicknamed, Galloping Gertie. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge, located in Washington state, was an ambitious project. When it opened on July 1, 1940, it was the third longest suspension bridge in the world. Spanning nearly 6,000 feet, it was a vital link connecting the cities of Tacoma and the Kitsap Peninsula. During the early 20th century, the growing demand for infrastructure to support transportation and commerce led to ambitious projects across the United States. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge was no exception. Approved in 1937, it aimed to connect communities and facilitate economic growth in the region. Designed by Leon Moisseiff, a celebrated engineer of the time, the bridge featured a cutting-edge suspension design. Moisseiff applied his theory of deflection to make the bridge lighter and more flexible, reducing material costs while maintaining its structural integrity, at least on paper. The design was groundbreaking, but it wasn't without controversy. Some engineers raised concerns about the bridge's narrow width and its potential vulnerability to wind. However, these warnings were largely dismissed, as the focus remained on delivering the project within budget and on schedule. On July 1, 1940, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge opened to great fanfare. Residents marveled at its sleek, modern appearance, and for many, it symbolized progress and hope during a challenging time in American history. But beneath the excitement lay a ticking time bomb. The problem: flexibility. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge's design relied on a narrow, lightweight deck supported by cables. While this approach was cost-effective and visually striking, it made the bridge particularly susceptible to the forces of nature, especially wind. Unlike other suspension bridges of its time, Galloping Gertie lacked the necessary stiffness to resist wind-induced oscillations. Engineers had underestimated how the thin, flexible deck would interact with airflow. What was initially thought to be a minor design compromise soon became a glaring issue. Shortly after its opening, the bridge's unusual behavior became a spectacle. Strong gusts of wind caused the deck to ripple like waves, alarming drivers and pedestrians alike. Some dared to walk across the swaying structure, while others avoided it altogether, fearing the worst. Local residents recounted stories of cars bouncing along the undulating deck, and some even described it as a rollercoaster ride. For thrill seekers, it became an attraction. For others, it was an unnerving experience. The nickname Galloping Gertie quickly stuck, cementing the bridge's reputation as both an engineering marvel and an unpredictable hazard. Behind the scenes, engineers were beginning to suspect that the bridge's flexibility was more than just a curious anomaly. Early observations hinted at a more complex interaction between wind forces and the bridge's structure, something that hadn't been thoroughly studied before. The underlying issue was a phenomenon called aeroelastic flutter. When wind flows over a structure, it can create oscillating forces that amplify vibrations. Unlike simple swaying, this effect involves a feedback loop where the structure's movement generates forces that reinforce the motion. In the case of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, these forces weren't just amplified, they were catastrophic. For months, the bridge had weathered smaller gusts with its signature gallop. But on that fateful day, conditions aligned to push the structure to its breaking point. A steady wind of 42 miles per hour swept through the Narrows, triggering a chain of events that would seal the bridge's fate. As the wind speed increased, the bridge began a violent motion known as torsional oscillation. The deck no longer moved up and down but twisted dramatically. One side of the bridge rose as the other fell, and the twisting motion only grew worse. At its peak, the deck was shifting at angles of up to 45 degrees. Engineers would later learn that this twisting motion was driven by a phenomenon called aeroelastic flutter. The wind didn't just push against the bridge, it created a feedback loop where the bridge's own movements increased the wind's effect, leading to catastrophic vibrations. By 11 a.m., the stress on the bridge became too much. The cables supporting the central span began to snap, and within minutes, the middle section of the bridge broke apart and plummeted into the waters of Puget Sound. By 11 a.m., the stress on the bridge became too much. The cables supporting the central span began to snap, and within minutes, the middle section of the bridge broke apart and plummeted into the waters of Puget Sound. The collapse of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge was as sudden as it was devastating. The event shocked engineers and the general public alike, casting a spotlight on the gaps in scientific understanding of aerodynamics and structural stability. The debris from the collapse scattered across the water and sank into the Puget Sound, creating one of the largest underwater wreckage sites of its time. Recovery efforts were deemed impossible due to the depth and the immense weight of the sunken sections. In the aftermath, researchers conducted detailed investigations into the collapse. Wind tunnel testing and mathematical modeling revealed how the interaction between the wind and the bridge created a perfect storm for disaster. This new understanding would form the basis for advancements in bridge design across the globe. The collapse of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge was a shocking event, but it marked a critical turning point in the world of engineering. The immediate aftermath was filled with questions. How could this happen to such a modern marvel? And what lessons could be learned from its catastrophic failure? In the days following the collapse, teams of engineers, scientists, and government officials gathered to analyze what went wrong. The wreckage became a somber classroom, teaching engineers that the effects of wind and how it interacts with flexible structures were more complex than previously understood. One key revelation was the need for aerodynamic stability in bridge design. Structures must not only withstand static forces like weight and tension but also dynamic forces like wind, which can cause oscillations and catastrophic failures. This led to the development of new mathematical models and testing methods, laying the foundation for modern bridge engineering. The public's fascination with the disaster turned the Tacoma Narrows Bridge into a symbol of both failure and progress. The lessons learned didn't just stay in textbooks, they influenced designs worldwide, ensuring that future suspension bridges could stand firm against the forces of nature. By 1950, a new Tacoma Narrows Bridge was completed, incorporating the hard-earned knowledge gained from Galloping Gertie's failure. This bridge, a symbol of resilience and innovation, still stands today, a tribute to the importance of learning from mistakes. The collapse also sparked advancements in suspension bridge designs worldwide. Modern bridges, like the Golden Gate and Akashi Kaiki, owe their stability and durability to the pioneering work that followed this disaster. Today, the remains of Galloping Gertie lie on the seafloor, a haunting reminder of the bridge's brief yet impactful existence. Divers occasionally visit the site, now a protected habitat for marine life, blending nature and history beneath the waves. The story of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge reminds us that failure, though devastating, can also be a powerful teacher. From the ashes of Galloping Gertie rose a legacy of innovation and improvement. Thank you for joining us as we explored this fascinating chapter in engineering history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.